Hi, my name's Mike DeLong. I'm the pastor of the Vine Church. And if you are listening to this podcast or watching this video presentation, this is our special series on race. At the Vine, we believe that the answer to our current situation is not to draw our battle lines, retreat to our corners, and not say anything to each other at all out of fear of saying the wrong thing. We believe that the answer to our current situation is to actually lean in. It's to have the discussion. It's to actually work through the differences in worldviews. It's to talk it out. Now look, when we do that, it's going to be messy. I mean, really messy in places. So as you consume this series, which has one-on-one interviews and panel discussions, you'll have to remember to be grace-filled yourself. For there will be messy moments where you will be offended. Because you see, here at the Vine, we have a pretty multicultural congregation. We have many different people from many different backgrounds. It's just a matter of time until I say something or somebody says something that offends you. We live in a culture that's cancel culture based. Anytime we don't hear what we like or don't hear what we value, there's this temptation just to shut it down, cancel it. I'm going to ask you to suspend that for a moment. Offer grace to all that speak in this particular series. And as we work through this together, let's pray collectively that the Spirit of God would open our minds to the worldview of the other, give us perspective and mercy for the other, and that as we move together as a community, we may not fix the world, but we may become a shining example of how we overcome the differences in worldview through these discussions. This is our intent. Now, here's the deal. I can't control how you're going to react to this. The Bible clearly says in Romans chapter 12, it says, do everything within your power to live at peace. As far as it depends on you, do everything to live at peace. Which means know my heart and know the hearts of those who've participated. We want to promote unity. We want to promote clarity and a biblical worldview. There will be moments when in our brokenness, in our inability to communicate effectively, we'll say things off the cuff that will not be exactly what we hold to be true. But I can't control your reaction. I can only ask you to be mindful, thoughtful, prayerful, and grace-filled as we work through this together. All right, proceed. Love you. Mean it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Pewology. This is our show where the people in the pews get to weigh in. And today we have a very special guest, my new friend, A.C. Codner.
Yes.
All right, a Kissimmee boy.
Yep.
Who is running for mayor.
That is correct. That is also true.
Have you done some public service before? This is your first time going into
Yeah, this is my first time in the political arena, but I always been in the community for the past 10 years. First off, I graduated 2008.
Okay.
And I went off to college up to New York.
Where'd you graduate from?
Gateway High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
All my kids went to Osceola.
Osceola, okay.
It's cool.
No, I got that's our rival school, but I rock with Osceola.
Okay.
But I graduated 2008 from Gateway. Went up to Buffalo, New York. Got my associates in general studies with a concentration in architecture. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do yet.
Okay.
And then I transferred down. I was playing football, running track too. And then I transferred down to Clark Atlanta University. And then I got my bachelor's in fine arts there. Okay. And then after that, I went to Life University in Marietta, Georgia, and I got my master's in positive psychology. And then I got a job out in San Francisco, California, went out there for a little while, was working as a program coordinator in San Francisco at an elementary school, low-income elementary school out there. I'm working on social skills with the students and connecting the community and the families with the school and their academia and whatnot. And then I came back, went to New Orleans to do an internship, and then I got my last master's in nonprofit management in a concentration public administration, concentration nonprofit management.
Okay, hold
at
on.
FAU.
How many masters you got, man?
I got 2 masters. Yeah, I got 2 masters, 1 bachelor's, one associate's. But in those cities and states in Atlanta, New Orleans,
Okay.
San Francisco, I was always doing community work. I was always working with different nonprofits with either the city or the county or whatever case may be. So
Okay.
yeah, I was always
So this has been near and dear to your heart. This whole
yeah.
like
That's and it's the thing about it is like, for me it's very genuine. Like campaigning is not different from anything that I've been doing for the past 10 years.
Okay.
As in like I'm always
this isn't a big switch.
yeah,
for
it's
you.
no switch at all because I'm either working with the nonprofits or I'm volunteering my time, toy drives, clothes drive, feeding the homeless, stuff like that. So it's like that's nothing different. And then I came from experiences that need to be changed. Like I was homeless out in California.
Wow.
I worked for the juvenile detention center, and I was also arrested when I was younger, wrongly at
Wow.
that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like every experience that I had is what the average citizen in the working class kind of goes through.
Wow.
So it's for me to be at the position that I'm at the age that I'm at, that's the game changer. Like that's the bridge, because I believe that's how we bridge all the gaps.
Okay, there's so many things popping through my mind right now. You said so much already. Okay, so first thing is Life University in Marietta. Is that former Kennesaw University?
No, Kennesaw State is.
Okay,
that's
because I lived in Marietta. I lived in Kennesaw.
Yeah,
When you
okay.
said that, I was like, Life University.
Yeah,
Did they
yeah,
change
yeah.
the name?
No,
No.
Kennesaw still. They're still
Okay.
a university. That's the black and yellow school.
Yeah.
Yeah. My homeboys went there, but
Okay.
no, Life University is probably 20 minutes away. Where the KFC, the big chicken.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a
yeah,
landmark.
absolutely. Nobody knows what we're talking about. Right now. They're like big chicken.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You got to
man.
look it up. Google that. Google that. But yeah, so I went to Life. It's more of a chiropractor university, but they had psychology in there as well.
Right.
So that's why I got my master's at there.
Okay. And so, and then you just slipped in just a slight reference to I was arrested and
Oh,
it was
yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah,
Wait a
yeah.
minute. What happened?
Yeah. That was
When you were a kid?
Yeah. I was.
You grew up here in town.
Yeah, in Kissimmee.
Okay.
But it happened out in Orange County.
Okay.
And basically what they did was, in Orange County they had the curfew or whatever. Well, back then they had curfew, and the thing about it was, me and my brother was we was at a party, and it was 10 o'clock. The curfew is 11:30.
Okay.
So the whole scenario was basically my brother didn't have his ID, and the police officer says, "Where's your ID? Where's your ID?"
Yeah.
I say, "It's in his car." Right? So, because this is my big brother. I love my big brother. I don't want him to go to jail or nothing like that. But he's 18, I'm 17.
Right.
So I go to the car. Or I attempt to go to the car. Right? We leave from where the house is at, and there was his other cop, there's a female cop, that was like, "Hey, don't cross me, don't leave the scene." I'm like, "Okay, listen, this is what's going on. There's a police officer asking my brother for his license, but his license is in the car. I'm just trying to get the license and bring it back so we
Okay.
can have this and then we can go home, right?"
Didn't work out.
Didn't work out. She was like, "No, don't leave, don't cross me." And I'm just kindly just talking to her because I'm a respectable kid. Like I wasn't even a hothead, nothing like that. So now I see my brother coming out in cuffs, and I'm like, "See, look, that's my brother. I'm trying to go. That's the reason why he's getting arrested, because he doesn't have his license. I'm trying to go get it." And then as soon as that happened, he put my brother in the car. He comes back. He pushes me and says, "Hey, you need to learn how to respect women or women officers and stuff like that." I'm like, "Whoa!" I was like, "I'm not disrespecting anybody." Pushed me a second time, says, "Back up." I'm like, "Okay, I'm backed up. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm sorry. I was just trying to get the license." And he pushing me again for the third time. So now I'm just like, "Hey, like, you push me back, but you moving forward. There's not creating distance in between us." So he called me a smart, like I'm being smart, smart aleck. And then his partner, another partner, came from behind me, grabbed my shoulder, and I flinched because I didn't know who it was. And then they both grabbed me, and then they picked me up, slammed me into the ground.
Wow.
And then arrested. And then I got out. I never got in trouble before. So when you first go to the juvenile assessment center, they call it the JAC. They give you, it's a certain amount of points. If you score high enough, then they'll admit you into you have to go actually into
Okay.
the center, or you can get let go.
Okay.
So I ended up getting let go because that was my first time.
Wow.
But you know, I was forced.
But this somehow, like, I don't want to read into too much, but did this shape a lot of your passion?
Yeah, and it did because it was that was my first, I would say, incident with the police officer.
Yeah.
So that really changed. I had a bitter taste, like, man, I didn't do nothing wrong, and y'all wrongfully did that. So it did change. I had an attitude towards certain officers. I was always being profiled throughout college. At least 4 times I can count on my hand. I was always profiled. Oh,
Right.
you look like the suspect, da da da.
Really?
And I'm just going to school, you know. So I'm just on campus, like I'm like, yo, come on. But you know, but
You look like our guy.
yeah, like, and it's crazy in Atlanta, Georgia. Like everyone is majority black
we got a lot of
/
black
dreads
people. Yeah.
and all that. So, oh yeah, you're the one. I'm like, come on, everyone on campus.
Everybody looks like
I look like we're all cousins. But you know, it was what it was, and then you know, I kind of started to grow out of that, and then I actually got a job working for the Juvenile Justice Department at the same one that I got sent to in Orange County. Yeah, because Orange County serves Osceola and Orange, and I worked there. I worked there last year, 2 years ago, and you know, and I was the best officer there. Like you could ask my sergeants and all, because I can relate to them. I can relate to all those kids that's in there. They shouldn't be in there, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just unfortunate things, and some of them was treated unfairly. I know some of them were treated unfairly.
Really?
You know, why they got arrested. And even while they're in there, there's a lot of things that need to be changed in there too. Because majority of them, I probably seen 2 Caucasian kids come in, arrested was Hispanic and black.
Why do you think
You know?
that is?
You know,
Because this is our series on race.
yeah.
And so this is why
Okay.
I'm asking all these questions, because
Yeah.
I definitely want your perspective, especially if you're the guy, especially if you're the guy that gets in and you get to
Right.
run the city, which, you know, that's an exciting thing. We got to
Yeah.
get to that too.
Yeah.
But so, okay, let's ask you this. Let's go slow. How was it like? What was it like for you growing up here in town?
In town, you know, I lived in the BVL area.
Okay.
So BVL area is majority Hispanic.
Yes.
So I didn't feel, me personally, I didn't feel the super racist, like you would say, on the east side of Osceola.
Okay.
County, right?
Okay.
Because, you know, historically, you can know
Yes.
that more on the east part of the Osceola County is majority of the white area.
Right.
And, you know, stuff like that. But in the BVL area is majority Hispanic. So
Yeah.
I didn't feel, growing up here, I didn't feel like in a BVL, I didn't really have that racist, a lot of racist
Tension.
incidents, or whatever it could be from growing up.
Okay.
But as I look back, I know that systemically it was happening in education.
Okay.
And because growing up, a lot of people don't know, I failed the FCAT 8 or 9 times.
Okay.
From elementary, middle school, I couldn't pass the reading part.
Okay.
But from when we moved down, they put me in special ed or learning.
I'm a fellow special ed guy. I
Okay.
feel your pain.
Okay. So you know, so it's like they categorize you as that.
Okay.
And then, you know, and when I was in 2nd grade, I can remember it vividly in Mr. Schultz's class, Bucket Creek Elementary.
Yeah.
Like the smartest kid in class. Every time I raise my hand, you know, and try to answer, I get it wrong because I already didn't feel smart.
Right.
Because everyone, oh yeah, he's special need, he's special ed, whatever. And then the smartest kid would say, oh yeah, he's stupid, and then the whole class would point and laugh, like your classical cartoon type scene, you know. And I'm like, man, then it's crazy. But Mr. Schultz always used to be like, nah, like you are smart, like don't let that get you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it did travel on through elementary, through middle school. I always like, man, I'm not smart enough. So already in my head psychologically, like, I'm not gonna pass this test, or
Right.
I'm not gonna do good in school. I was just good at sports.
So somewhere along the line, when they hit you with the special needs or the special education label, it almost like you began to believe the hype about like that. And I think I did too.
Right.
You know, I tell this story all the time to the church. I said when I got to take my ACT and my SAT, I was permitted under the special education rules, because I was a special ed kid, that they read it to me.
Wow.
They read me the comprehension part.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess we looked at it differently.
Right.
I didn't think of myself as, no, I guess I did. I guess I did kind of think of myself as, hey, I guess I need this extra help.
Right.
It was funny for me. I got to college in And when I got into divinity school, the academic dean, I went with my parents, and my dad was there, and he asked the academic dean, is there was any help for people who had special needs and special education?
Yeah.
And the academic dean turned his attention from my dad, looked me right in the eye, and said, life is tough. There's no help here for you. You'll have to work harder. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And college would really do that to you.
Yeah,
like,
wake you up quick. Wake you up. And now you got 4 degrees.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a crazy. And you know what it is like, when I was going through high school and stuff like that, I bombed the SAT, bombed the ACT.
Right.
Never, and the colleges, some colleges, I had to apply because I couldn't pass the GRE.
Right.
Or my GRE scores wasn't high enough.
Right.
So, they'll deny me based off that. But the Life University and FAU were like, well, yeah, we see that your, GRE scores is low, but your letter of intent is amazing. And like my resume was just impeccable. So they're like, yeah, it's great, but what do you feel about the workload, like, of the course?
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, just let me in.
Give me a try.
Yeah, just give me a try. Like, look, I may be horrible at them state tests or whatever, standardized tests, but just let me in, and I promise you, and I'm going to succeed. And I did every time.
That's my story, too.
3.7, 3.8 GPA, like, but, that's because I believed in myself.
Right.
And that's one thing as younger kids, like, if they don't believe in themselves, then psychologically nobody could tell them anything. You know what I'm saying? Teachers, whoever, like, nobody could tell me anything because back then I was like, man, I'm just not, I already felt like, don't tell me nothing, I'm going to fail, like, whatever. So it's just like, I learned what my thing was. When it came to the FCAT, the reading portion, I can't read, or I lose a lot of attention. My attention span is short when it comes to things I'm not interested in reading.
Right.
So, that's what it was for me. But in college, I started when I was reading about art. When I was reading about,
you get into your the things you want to be interested in, right? And you're like, nobody had to ask you to read at that point. You're ready to roll.
Exactly, and that's how it should be. I think that in K through 12 in primary schooling, it should be geared to more towards what that actual student wants. So actually do some type of questionnaire in beginning before they get enrolled. And hey,
you sound like you're running for school board right now.
Nah, a lot of people told me to run for school board. I said nah, that's the whole nother level.
Whole nother deal.
Yeah, that's
whole nother deal.
So much
right
red
there.
And I just said nah, I'm good, man.
Yeah,
but
let's give this. Okay, so what inspired you to run for office? Because I didn't know a lot about you until I saw somehow we're friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
I think you have the largest social media following I've seen. You were like a social media magnet.
Yeah.
And then I saw that you were running for mayor, and I'm like, this dude's running for mayor. Like, what's up? Like, what got you into this?
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was 2016, and this is when I was in FAU. I was at Florida Atlantic University.
Okay.
And of course, like, I'm getting my master's in public administration, and my advisor was a guy, Dr. Farazman, Ali Farazman. Okay. So I took several of his classes, and he has a book in the White House. Like, he traveled the world, like, smart guy.
This guy's done some stuff.
Yeah, he does some things. He's from I think he's from Israel. Like,
okay.
And he came in, and he just did his thing, and and he's so smart, and he really got me intrigued into local government, and he would read my essays. He would say, hey man, you should get into local government wherever you go back home. Like, you should go back or get into the local government. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And that's kind of what sparked my mind, because I was seeing him, what he was doing. Right. And I'm like, man, that's great. So that kind of sparked my mind. And then, I was always, I used to work for the city of Kissimmee Parks and Recs. Okay. Osceola County Parks and Recs. Okay. And those, just working for the city alone. Yeah. And kind of just learning through all the different departments as I was in school, because we had to study our own city's departments or city hall and how they actually run the city. Right. I'm like, man, there's a lot of things that should be changed. So I was like, we had to read the whole city charter. Well, I did. I read the whole city charter. But for our assignments, we had to read certain parts. Right. And as I'm reading, I'm like, nah, this should be changed, or this should be different. Right. And then I started to get deeper and deeper into, like, okay, what's county laws and what's city ordinances and what's state level, what's federal level. And I'm like, man, well, what can we do outside of that alone? Like, outside of city ordinances, what can people do as it is people alone? And that's when I started learning, like, how to put items on the agenda, and then the voting process of getting a item on the agenda to vote, election year, stuff like that. But a lot of things, I already knew I had a big following because I had a big following based off of a movement I started called That's Life.
Okay.
So That's Life is an acronym, DATSLIFE,
Okay.
which means do anything to say life is for everything.
Okay.
So instead of getting mad or sad or having a negative attitude, you simply say that's life, be positive, and move forward.
Yeah.
Because there's no point to dwell in the past
Yes.
or in negativity,
Yeah.
because the world can spin with it without you.
Absolutely.
So with that, I gained a lot of following based off that, and I was already doing community work already. So then, I was just like, man, I'm just go ahead and run for mayor. And I said it at age 26, and no one believed me because I'm a comedian. I clown around,
Right.
I joke around, and do everything like that.
But you were serious.
I was dead serious, but no one believed me. But I was dead serious, and then I kept on saying it.
Yeah.
Then 2017, kept on saying it. 2018, kept on saying it. Not last year, kept on saying it. And then a lot of people put their name on the ballot because there's like 8 people. Well, it was 8 people
Yeah.
at the time. 2 didn't qualify, so it's 6 now. But at the time, last year it was 8 people. And they all put their names on the ballot like January, February 2019. I put mine late, like in August or October. And then oh, wow, he is running for mayor. Like at that point in time, they realized I was really serious.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, with that, I believe me personally, I'm the one that bridges the gap.
Okay.
Because when you talk about gap, you have the race gap, you have the gender gap, you have the age gap,
Yeah.
you have the sexual orientation gap. There's
Yeah.
all these multiple gaps that
Yeah.
really, if we don't come together, there's going to be no true growth in the community,
Right.
or sustainability in
Yeah.
the community. So for me, being age 30, the average age in Kissimmee is 32.
Right.
So I'm already age 30.
Okay. You're right there.
I'm right. I'm right in the
Yeah.
middle. I'm black.
Okay.
I have dreads. I have tattoos. I have 4 collegiate degrees. I'm a teacher. I teach. I used to teach at Osceola County.
Okay.
Used to teach over there in Poinciana, Chestnut Elementary.
Okay.
And then now I teach in Davenport, in
Okay.
Polk County. But I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. Former athlete, college sports.
Yeah.
And I'm a track coach as well at my
Okay.
school. I work for the Juvenile Justice Department. Work for the city. Work for the county. I wear so much hats.
Yeah.
And I've been on certain boards, Kissimmee Charter School Board,
Okay.
School Advisory Board. Nonprofits work for. I have
Yeah.
my resume is so long,
Right.
and I've been in wore so much different hats. I'm so well rounded
Right.
that I can sit in any room. I could discuss the same topic to a kindergartner
Right.
or to a 12th grader, and they'll identify with me more,
Right.
because I'm not that old to say, oh, he's an old man, whatever. But I can also go into a CEO's office or any politician's office and engage in a proper manner. So I'm that bridge. Like,
Yeah.
I'm that guy. Like, I could be able to talk to anybody. I have no, and I'm not one of those super pro-black. I can't talk to white people because, everyone is a racist.
thank
Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just, but it's like, I'm in that middle where I can
Right.
talk to anyone of any race, of any gender, of
Yeah.
any sexual orientation, and be able to understand them and then bring it to whoever they're disagreeing with,
Right.
and elaborate to them what's going on, and be able, we can all identify or
Yeah.
find the middle ground.
Right.
Right? Because that's the goal at the end of the day, because we're all not going to, per se, like each other or like each other's ideas and perspectives, but there is something that we all could come together and say, this is the issue, and it affects you as
Right.
well, so here's what we can do for at least this issue or
Yeah.
these multiple issues. So I feel like I'm the perfect person because there's
Yeah.
no one else, any candidate running for anything that I know. Me personally, my social media platform is bigger than any other candidate.
I agree with that.
And any candidate on the ballot.
Absolutely.
They're
Yeah.
just.
All right, but let me ask you this.
But go ahead.
We get very tribal.
Yes.
I wouldn't call it racial, but we get very tribal when people get into the voting booth.
Oh yeah, of course.
And you know what look, and I'm going to say something.
Yeah,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
get myself in trouble. You help me out here. You give me some cover.
Yeah.
But I think most people would have to admit that in Osceola County, you're walking into that voting booth, and the worry is, and I'm just saying,
Yeah.
the worry is that we live in a highly Hispanic area.
That's true.
And Hispanics just vote for Hispanic names.
I heard of that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I did hear that.
Are you worried about that?
I'm not personally worried about that.
Yeah.
One reason is because I grew up in BVL.
Okay.
So I have a lot.
You feel like these are my people.
Yeah, all my friends, all my friends, majority of them is Hispanic. My best friend, Valentine Manso, that's my boy, man. Since growing up.
Okay.
One of my best friends. So, but I mean, I have a lot of Hispanic friends.
Right.
Along with, I have a lot of Hispanic supporters already.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I was just in the black community alone, and I only have
Right.
the black vote. But I have support from every race,
Yeah.
from every organization, like
Yeah.
several. I wore so much hats and wear
Right.
so much different places that
Yeah.
they seem
You
to
feel like your appeal has gotten widespread.
yeah.
That's great.
I genuinely like was for everybody. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't for just a specific race or organization. So like everyone that I crossed, they knew it was like all love, and what I'm doing is for everyone, not just
Yeah.
a specific.
I do think this is a unique. I mean, we can't ignore the reality of what's going on in this moment.
Right.
And I do think this is a unique, pivotal moment that somehow you may have found yourself in the middle of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, there's some
of
stuff
course.
going down in our nation,
Yeah.
in our state,
Yeah.
that when you look at the issue of race, especially Black America, I would say, like I was talking before this interview, and I was saying, I think if you'd have ran the last election cycle, the cycle before that, or maybe even 2 cycles after this,
Yeah.
I think your chances would be less.
Yeah.
But right now,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of attention.
I
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Do you agree?
Ideally, the odds are for me. And a lot of people say odds is, oh, yeah. Because before running, like a lot of people were like, yeah, don't run. You shouldn't run now. You're too young. Wait.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
They're always
the
gonna say
amount of stuff that I heard
Yeah.
is ridiculous. But it's
Yeah.
like, I believe the odds is really for me because I already seen the young people alone, young people regardless of race.
Right.
I seen the millennials really start to get civically engaged based off of the 2016 election.
Yeah.
Right. So, when that happened, I'm like, yeah, okay, they're gonna see. The reason why, and when I talk to millennials, the reason why they don't vote is because they can't identify with the people who are running.
I agree.
They're either too old or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
and they don't see themselves. So if and that's realistic. If you can identify with a person,
Yeah.
then it's hard for you to relate and
agree.
or vote. So,
But how do you get them out? Because this
Yeah.
is a group that is historically
yeah, for sure. And
fickle when it comes to getting to the polls. They
Yeah.
say they're going to vote, and
Of
they
course.
don't.
Yeah, yeah. And the key thing is about getting them registered, and really it's about educating them. So like anytime they come and talk to me, I say, man, first off, are you registered? And
Right.
here's the date they got to do it by July 20th to be registered to vote for
Right.
the August 18th primary
Okay.
election, right? So it's like it's just education.
So we're on the clock right now.
Oh yeah,
you heard
yeah,
that,
it's
people.
go
We are on the
time.
clock.
Yeah, it's
you
go
got to get
time.
registered.
Yeah,
if you're
so
gonna-
July 20th is the last day for the primary vote. You can
Right.
register for the November, but primaries, Osceola County is a closed
Right.
primary, so you have to register, choose a party, and you can. Well, not my race. My race is nonpartisan.
Yeah.
But if you're voting for a county level like sheriff or county commissioner, you have to choose a party, Republican, Democrat,
To vote in the primary.
to vote in the primary, and you
Yeah.
got to vote for that candidate,
Yeah.
whoever's in that party. So
Yeah.
that's just how Osceola set up.
So you think you can get them out,
Yeah.
get these these millennials off their couches,
Yeah.
and out and ready to vote?
Yeah.
All right. I like it.
Yeah. No, it's all about, and yeah, that's every and anybody. It's all about educating them on the process of doing it. I think it's
Right.
because a lot of times, in an old-fashioned way, people will be like, yeah, go to City Hall and you'll hear everything about. When it comes to city meetings, you'll hear everything about what you need to do, resources and stuff like
Right.
that. But young people, now they're just stuck in their phones. They're not going out. They're rarely going.
Right.
I can be like they're not going to a city hall meeting
Right.
on 6 o'clock every twice a month. They're not doing that.
Yes, yes.
So it's up to the commissioners, the mayors, and just
Right.
people to go out into the community and engage with them because they're not going to come to city
Right.
hall. So and that.
And can you blame them? I've been to a city hall meeting.
Oh no! Trust me, come on. I know, and they're long. Some of them long. The agendas is long. Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
you don't want to do it. It's kind of boring,
Right.
unless you're really.
But there's some important stuff going on. in
very
those meetings.
important. Very
And
important.
I think most people don't realize, and I know that you know this, I'm speaking to the choir, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say that for the typical Osceola County citizen,
Yeah.
city of Kissimmee resident,
Mm-hmm.
they don't realize that they're so concerned about voting for these national elections, and the
man.
effect that those have on them is so minimal
Yeah.
compared to their
Yeah.
city and,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and county officials.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, local politics or local government is way more important than federal at any point in time in your life.
Yeah.
Like regardless, because I say whatever the president does at whatever point in time, any president did anything, it doesn't affect you personally until about a year or two later.
Yeah.
Like literally, like
Yeah,
whatever
there's a trickle-down effect,
It's
of
a trickle
course.
down.
Yeah.
It trickles all the way down to you personally in that city. So when it comes to that local elections, that sheriff, that chief, that mayor, all of them have that commission. They have powers to change something that's going to hit within the next week.
What about, I mean, you're looking at this situation. You want to get into the city council and you want to get on and to be mayor. Obviously, you have to have some things that you look at and go, this is what I'm going to focus on. These are the things that I'm concerned about. Right. And have those, or do you have a couple of things that you're like, hey, I'm targeting these things, and have those changed based upon the last 10, 15 weeks after all this mess?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I had a whole list of things, but of course, everything changed. The way of living changed because of the coronavirus.
Yes.
Right? So,
and especially the race thing
and
too.
It did. True story. And the police brutality. Everything in the past 2-3 months
has changed.
It
feels like the whole world has changed.
Really though. So but a lot of my key things are still the same. Like, so homelessness and affordable housing, I think those two mesh together.
Okay.
That's still a key thing for me, because that's always going to be a thing regardless. Right. Now, what has been on top of my list now is like the police training and kind of how police is engaging with the community. Right. I think that is very much so needed because that's the way we can
hit the pause button on that.
Yeah.
So specifically with KPD.
Yeah.
I'm looking. We come from different worlds, and I'm looking at it from my perspective. You may look at it differently, but give me yours on this because I look at KPD and I'm thinking to myself, okay, the police department looks fairly diverse. They look fairly diverse when it comes to race. They look fairly diverse when it comes to like male and female. They just do. And what I saw, and totally outside perspective, but what I saw with the efforts that local government and the police department made with the protest that was here in town and how they wanted to work together. And it just feels like we're in a pretty good situation as compared to other police departments. What do you think?
I would say correct because I think, statistically, I believe that KPD is like one of the top police departments in the nation, or at least for sure the state of Florida. But it's one thing, and I don't have nothing against the KPD because I didn't personally have any incidents with KPD personally. Yeah. So I have nothing bad to say. I talked to Chief Odell. He's a good guy. He's working his hardest to try to connect and whatnot. Yeah. But when it comes to like that protest,
how'd you feel about it?
So the thing about it is,
you paused way too long. I was like, here we go.
The thing about the protest was it was different agendas. Okay. And everyone wasn't heard or they didn't felt heard. And if it's different agendas and different things like that,
somebody's always trying to hijack the agenda.
Yeah, you know how it is. So basically, here's the thing about me and protest. Back in the day, they protest to create awareness because news and stuff like that wouldn't talk about anything about the black community.
Sure.
So they did protests and marches to create that awareness.
Yes.
But we are for sure aware now.
World
you know
what
I'm saying? Yeah. We are aware now. So I get the protest is cool, but you gotta have a follow-up / end goal, right? Yeah. So we did the protest, okay? And to be honest, and if I'm being 100% real, I don't think that protest would have happened if it wasn't a trendy thing to do.
I agree.
Because all these other states.
I'm sorry to say that, but I agree.
It wouldn't happen if it wasn't a trendy thing to do. Like all you seen it in Orlando, you seen it in New York, San Francisco.
And I would also say this with the police department, and this isn't like a knock against them because I know these guys are trying to do the right thing. We've had some of the KPD officers on to be interviewed. Yeah. I think they just looked at it and said, hey, it's a lot easier to work with and get out in front, because we already are in agreement.
Smart move.
I think it was very politically smart. I was like, hey,
smart move.
We already do agree.
Right.
There's not a lot of resistance here. We think that bad policing and police departments that aren't diverse is a bad thing. Let's get out with them.
Smart move on their behalf.
So it didn't feel like it had that same.
Right, but So and the thing about it is where I feel like, great, we had the protest. Think about it now, right?
Right.
I said, okay, great, we had a protest. We need to follow up.
Right.
So you seen 700 some odd human beings out there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Riled up. So the next meeting we hosted, me and the other organizers, the next week Thursday or something like that, only 17 people came out. come on now. like come on, man.
But is that so indicative of our whole nation?
Yeah.
Everybody
on.
is full of emotion and wants to be angry.
Yeah.
Very few people want to talk about a solution.
And that's my whole
Yeah.
point. That's why I was like, man, listen, y'all doing all that rah. I'm not for it. Like, and
Right.
that's why I felt like people were like, oh yeah, what do you think? Why ain't you? Because the next day I didn't say nothing about it. They
Right.
thought I was like, oh yeah, like this is Black Lives Matter. This
Yeah.
is what we did. Like, nah, I don't respect it if we're not
Changing.
doing this. Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
changing anything.
Yeah.
Great, you did that, but there's no solution.
Yeah.
So, and then when it comes time to literally plan out a solution to talk about it, no one comes, no one shows up.
Let me ask you something personal. Like, do you think? And I'm not trying to steer you or pigeonhole you into any
go
idea.
ahead.
But you're a guy who's got some pretty widespread appeal.
For sure.
You've got a lot of friends across racial lines and across community lines, socioeconomic lines.
Yep.
Do you feel like some of the like the national focus where you see some really bad stuff going on
Right.
when it comes to some racism, personal racism, maybe even some institutional racism? Do you feel like that's out there a little bit and not so much here? What is it about here that just feels like? Is it because we're so much more diverse?
I think, I mean, I think that it's like Osceola County has the separate sections of what, I think everyone's just clicked up. Like it is diverse, but I feel like, a lot of the Hispanics stay with the Hispanics, the Blacks stay with the Black. I feel like it's like that.
I feel like it's that with the older generations. I feel like my kids' generation.
Oh no, yeah, the younger people. No, yeah, we're definitely.
I think they
mixed
look
in.
at us like we're crazy. Like seriously.
Yeah, no. The younger people are definitely mixed in, and even my generation. Like I think
The millennials are
like, yeah, we don't get it because I got a lot, like my best friends, my closest friends are Hispanic. My mentors, some of them are white. Like and like I have good Caucasian friends that I call my brother. Like, yo, I will fight and whatever with this guy or girl and show love. Same way I would do for a Black person. So it's like, I don't know what it is about the older stigma, older mentality. And of course, I know it's all psychological because back in the day, like, you're not born racist. Like you're born.
You gotta learn that stuff.
It's a learned
behavior.
It's a learned behavior. So, I can never blame the older person because their grandparents was the one
product
that taught
of
them.
a certain environment.
Exactly. So it's like sometimes I'm like, dang, why you like this? But now it's like, okay, this is how you were raised. Yeah. And it's hard to change somebody's perspective who lived that way for 20 years or 30 years or whatever case may be, living in that same mind frame. And then when they do see truth or see injustice, they're like, that doesn't seem right to me. I thought it was always, white supremacy or whatever case may be. So it's like, that's how I think they think because it makes sense to them. Like logically. And I'm not trying to make fun of like racist people. I'm just saying like that's how I think they think psychologically. They think that that is correct because for 30 years it's been correct. Like their dad or their mom said it. It was seen right in their town. And now when they see this injustice, they say, oh no, that doesn't. What is this? Like, nah, this not right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just not, it's unusual to them. So I think they just want to stay stuck in that. No, I'm right. I don't know what these kids are crazy or these young, but we're speaking truth. No, this is wrong.
Yeah.
But,
Do you think that part of it is that older generation was so much less integrated and so much more segregated from each other that for them they could ignore it longer? They could have some underlying things that were probably, if closely examined, a little broken.
Right.
But they could get away. Because think about it. If you're not, like you said, until it bubbles to the surface and you see it, you're like, wait a minute.
Right. You're like, you didn't know. And I think that's just what it is, the psychological aspect of living in that time. So it's like they have to unlearn and then relearn. But it's hard to unlearn. Yeah. Like it's hard to unlearn something for 30 years. That's why it's always like it's easier to teach a secondary language to a kid, like in elementary and primary school, than it is to teach an adult the second language. Because we're so, as me, if you try to teach me Spanish, it's very difficult because I've been teaching English.
Those neural connections have already been made. They're firing a certain way.
So I'm always thinking English for the past 30 years, so it's going to be harder for me. But if you were trying to teach it when I was 3, 4, 5 years old, we don't have, our mind isn't structured already. We don't have all these ideas that we think is right already.
Right.
We're just open. You're like, as a kid, you're so observant. You're trying to take everything in. But, so.
What about, so when you look at the policing, what would we do differently?
Well, I'm already, working with, Chief Odell. He's working on like a group, or they're planning to start. And this came from the committee too, basically. Not the committee, the protest.
Okay.
Basically, they want to create a committee that is filled with civilians, the residents, to be able to police, not to say police, but to be able to, I guess, judge,
like
or
almost
mandate,
like a review board?
Kind of like a review board, or mandate what happens to officer if he acts out of his job duties.
Oh wow!
So
are they really thinking about instituting some sort of review board?
That's from what I last heard.
Okay. So let's fast forward. Let's fast forward 6 months, and you're the mayor.
Yeah.
Would that be something you're interested in?
Yeah, I would love that. But prior to that, though, I think that the training aspect. So when I was meeting with one of the academy instructors, it's like he was like, yeah, these are the levels of training that the officer will go through.
Right.
They'll come to that academy, they go through their training, they take the test, pass the test. Once they pass the test, they're allowed to have their certificate to work at any police station.
Right.
Then, the Central Florida police departments, Brevard, Osceola, Orlando, all those departments can come in and hire and recruit from that academy in Osceola. So when they get hired, whatever police department it is, they go through another training where they start off with one, like an OG officer, like he been there for 40 years or whatever. The oldest sergeant, whatever. And he rides with him, and he goes on a day-to-day, a few weeks or whatever, with the OG officer. And then he sets him off with another kind of like a younger officer, and he has another partner. And then it's like another set of training of different calls and stuff like that. And then I think he does 2 officers, and he comes back to the OG officer. Okay. And then the OG officer just sits back as the passenger and just watches the officer as he goes, and then he's set off free to where he can do it by himself. Okay. So it's like 3 or 4 separate training levels. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But with that, he was stating like, it's hard to kind of judge who that person was prior to coming into the academy, along with if that OG officer or the other officers who he's training within the departments had that mentality of,
that old school mentality, a little bit Wild Wild West.
Certain grapples, or certain takedowns, and stuff like that. That's not even part of the academy stuff anymore. Like, then that's where things change. You know what I'm saying? Or that's where.
So you think that's the moment, like not the academy, because probably a lot of the new training out of the academy is probably pretty good. You're thinking it's the moment where they get the real experience training. At the local police department.
Because look, I can tell you, when I was working for the Juvenile Justice Department, of course, we don't use of force. We use something called PARS, like a proactive action response, where we're evading, avoid, and then we take down when we have the chance. Right. And there's certain ways we got to take down. And that's how I was trained. Mm-hmm. And, when I get on, like on center or on the detention center, these other officers is slamming them on their head. They fighting for real. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, wow, well, this was not what I was trained. And they went through the same training. Right. And a lot of times, I seen people put things under the book and stuff like that. And it's just.
How do you create? I guess the follow up then is it's not just that on the job training that takes place. Then it's the accountability. That's
where I believe that I think it got to be a deeper. I don't know whether it's the interviewing process or the background research process, whatever case may be. I think it got to be deeper than that. But also, I believe that there needs to be more. Me personally, psychological training, as in like actually having a psychologist come in or a mental health person come in during the academy to say like, hey, this is when you go out there, this is what's going on. How do you handle a kid or a older person who has mental health issues,
Right.
and this is what you do, or how do you handle a gay relationship, domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's because a lot of time when they go to those, what I learned about it in Atlanta, that when the two men are fighting, and the one who's more the feminine,
Right.
male, and it's domestic violence, but they say, oh no, this is two males fighting, so they just leave it alone,
Right.
and then that person dies or whatever it
Yeah.
could be. So it's like, as an officer, if you
Gotta get some training on
yeah,
that.
you know, so it's a lot of different,
Scenarios.
crime. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of different scenarios, and of course, it's a list of how much different scenarios and possibilities can happen.
Right.
But I think it's needed to go over every one that you possibly can, and there's a lot. They go, I think it's like 60 plus some odd hours, based off scenario based training. I forgot the exact number, but I mean, I know it's a lot, but I feel like the longer the better. Like the longer the training, if you got to extend the police academy training,
Right.
the better, man, because I think it's the psychological aspect of who is the officer that can kind of hold their control under pressure, like who
Right.
can make the most logical decision in the quickest moment, because a lot of times when you are psychologically, when you're in fear, when you're angered, when you are, high adrenaline, your intelligence shrinkens.
Yeah.
It shrinkens to like,
Yeah.
real quick, you don't know what to.
Oh, they split second assistants are tough.
They
got a tough job.
It's very tough.
Yeah.
So it's all about like who can best, or how can we best train them
Right.
to make that minute decision right then and there. And I think that involves more training on different scenarios.
Right.
I know they do a lot, but even more,
Yeah.
longer time, more hours, whatever it should be. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's a few things we do, but I think that psychologists and social workers and stuff like that, I think they should also either be able to relocate or allocate certain funds
Yeah.
to them to go ahead and answer those type of calls. Like if the call is a non-threatening call,
Right.
like a non-violent or non-threatening call, send a social worker there instead of the police officer. Or train a police officer, train a unit of police officers that are trained in mental health, and that in that case, so
Feels like there's something there that can be done. It just feels tough,
yeah.
right? Because you you don't want to go too far, because next thing you know, we're sending like a social worker out to some call, and he gets shot, and you're like, well, that didn't work,
right? It's a lot to it, but I know there's ways that we can get around.
There's got to be something we
Yeah.
can do there.
I
Okay.
know there's ways
What
we
else
can
would
do
you do? Like, I mean, take the police off the table for a moment. You're you get into office. Are there some things you see in the city that you're like, hey, I really have to look at this. I'd like to target this. I'd like to focus on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes to, I think we're up there for the population of homeless people within the county, Osceola as a whole.
Yeah.
But I think that the more sustainable that we are, the better.
What do we do though?
So here's the thing. So I was being realistic. Where a lot of people are like, yeah, we're gonna end homelessness. You can't end homelessness. It's not possible.
Right.
Like if we're thinking literal in facts, like
Right.
there's 74 to 75,000 people in the city of Kissimmee.
Yeah.
The average house only holds 4.5 people. So we don't have enough houses to house 75,000 people.
Right.
So no matter what, there will always be someone homeless, right?
Right.
So that's a fact. So then
We got all these hotels up and down 192. With
now that with the hotel, and I don't know if you've seen the video I did. We was just at Star Motel.
Okay.
Power cut off. They're out there struggling, and those hotels and motels, bad shape.
Yeah.
And of course, what we're doing now, we're trying to figure out ways to get those families out of there, and then once the families are out, then you can go ahead and refurbish or either tear the whole motel down or make it into a livable place to where you could house multiple people. And that's kind of
we
what
haven't had a look. I don't know. This is me looking into it, and this could be a naive.
Yeah.
This could be very naive, and I'm sure there's somebody I'm sure I've got friends looking at this that are going, look, he's a dummy. What are you listening to him for? But I just look at it and I go, I think it would take some really strong leadership, some really strong coalition, because I kind of agree with you. Like these hotels, it's not like we're gonna in my opinion, it's not like we're going to put new paint on the walls
Right.
and this is going to change.
Right,
These are structures that if we want this community to change is going to have to be torn down. And that's not just an effort to ship homeless to another place. I'm saying, look, we have to deal with this town.
Correct, exactly.
And so we're going to have to at some point like have the type of leadership that goes, okay, there are other municipalities that have figured this out, and have been able. And I know that's not what business community always wants to hear because it feels very totalitarian. But at some point, we're going to have to figure this out.
No, for sure. And that's what when I met with the vice mayor down there in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
I asked him. I said, man, I didn't see coming here. I didn't see much homeless people.
Yeah.
Like I was like, how did y'all decrease y'all homeless population? He was like, well, first off, we were all on one accord. He said that the commission at the time that they did it. The commission was all on board on decreasing homelessness.
Yeah.
Then they got on. Then the Broward County was also on board, and then the businesses, local businesses within the community, was also on board.
Right.
So they put all their monies together, allocated all their monies together, and then they put they purchased, or however they did with the land, and put these mini houses, mini tents, and then the homeless people was there. They sent different trainers and stuff like that to employment coaches and stuff like that, get them on their feet. Nonprofits would come in and feed, and then that once the family was good, they'll move them out, put it one back in, and then it decreased, and then they took away the property, and then it was like
they came up with a plan.
Yeah, they came up with a plan, and then
part of that plan is always they take these blight kind of like hotels, and they knock them down at some point.
Yeah.
They have the type of leadership that goes, we're just not going to allow this anymore.
Right. And and the thing about the Star Motel and the Lake Cecile, owned by the same owner, all the two people, it could be supposedly the county can't do it, the city of Kissimmee can't do it because it's out of city limits, but the fire marshal can come in and shut it down and say, hey, nah, y'all got to go, or the state can come in and do it.
Right.
But they said something about, I guess, last year when they came to audit or observe the property, they said it was livable. But now, like, there's no power there. It's trash is stacked up for months. They haven't been picked up. Like, it's just bad there. So
but that's my question. Why don't we have the type of leadership locally that goes, this is the right time. Let's go. Let's get this done. Because I don't think there's nobody in Kissimmee that wouldn't agree with you on this point. If you stood up and said, hey, we're going to deal with this at the right time. We know it's coming. We got to deal with this. Everybody in Kissimmee would be like, thank you. Thank you.
And it's crazy. You would assume that, though.
Right.
But everyone is not. They're not like that. And what's crazy, I think because that I was homeless in California, and I seen the homeless people, how they were living, I think that is where it put me in the mentality even more to why it's needed, like why they need help. Because I'm going to be honest, some homeless people, they just want to be homeless. They don't,
I 100% agree. We work a lot with the homeless.
Right.
There's a group of people that have no plans.
They have no plans, no cares either.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So, but some who really do, and some who have 2-month-old kids and stuff like that. Like, so
absolutely,
with those
we should have
people,
programs.
Right, exactly. So it's like that is why I think it should be on always a top priority. But when I personally know once you're in politics, you're either blackballed or there. It has to be a 3-5 vote. I mean 3-2 vote, whatever it could be.
Right.
And if nobody is on one accord, you're always going to get a barrier every single time.
Right.
And of course, allocating funds and stuff like that. It's all about the time. Like the guy, like the vice mayor in Fort Lauderdale said, the commissioner. I mean, everyone's on one accord, so the plan worked. And you know what I'm saying? And it worked. And I feel like if we started this back in, 2010, and put a special fund just for homeless or affordable housing, and we just put dollars in it every year, by now, 10 years later, I feel like we had a bunch of funds to either one, build some type of property to go ahead and facilitate these homeless people, or figure out a way to make being homeless easier, as in different resources, get them on their feet, send them to Orlando or wherever, because it's expensive to live in Kissimmee. Yeah. So if we're not going to be able to decrease the housing, the price of living, you know what I'm saying? If we can't do that, then we got to send them out, send them somewhere where they could live. But if we don't have no program, and we got the Hope Center, Community Hope Center on 192. There's programs here, but they can't reach the whole homeless population. No. So it's like, if we don't put money for nonprofits or programs or support these Meals on Wheels and stuff like that, all these programs, if we don't take care of them and or build more or try to bring in and recruit other nonprofits to help out making being homeless easier, then we're always going to have the problem.
I can only speak from my experience working in this town. I would say that, in my opinion, the majority of people who are living in their car, living out of the hotels, there's a lot of hope there. If the right programs, right social programs can be put into place, there's a lot of hope there. My problem isn't developing those. I'm behind that. It's like, let's do that. Let's get a coalition to do that. Let's put those ideas together. I haven't seen a lot that's really worked, but let's put those together and let's see it through. My problem is like nobody's willing to admit. It just seems like nobody in government's willing to admit. There's like 400 or 500 people that are not the majority, but they're in the homeless population who have absolute no plans.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And everything is getting, it just crumbles. You know what I'm saying? Because we go down and we feed at the homeless shelter every month here in town. The church goes down there, and we love it. And we're not saying that we're not saying we judge that. These people are human, man. We love these people.
At the end of the day,
we want these people to get into a better place in life, but you can't make people.
Can't.
And they have no plans.
You can't.
You know
you can't make them for them either.
Yeah, and I look around at like what's happening, and they're just destroying the air, you know. And I go, what? I know it's hard to hear, and I know the public doesn't like to hear it, but it's like, yes, we need to have these programs to help people who want help. But what do we do with the people who don't want help?
That's tough. I think that's a tough cookie to do because you got to be a special person to sit down and talk. And me, I think I really am that person because I do it with students. I do it with my students who don't want to do their work all the time. I got middle schoolers, man. So, but it's like it takes a special group of people to say, okay, man, what are you trying to do in life? And really take down and sit down and really talk. Because a lot of times, a lot of people don't understand why they're like that. Why they don't have no plans. They don't want to do anything. Psychologically.
That's my problem. It's either psychological or it's drugs. But the two. But we don't have a place for people like that anymore.
And this is the thing. When you are homeless, let's take the drug aspect.
Take them out because they could recover.
Right. Because that's a whole. First off, we gotta get them off drugs. Once we get off drugs, then we can do this. Right. So take the drug aspect out of it. Those are just homeless or been homeless for a while.
Right.
It psychologically breaks you down. Because when I was homeless for 8 months, and I would consider myself transitional because I had my car. So I was able to sleep in my car in several motels. But psychologically, me just trying to apply for a place to live over there in California, San Francisco, average 1-bedroom studio, $3,500. And you have to make
it's expensive here.
Listen, you gotta make 3 times the rent. To live in a. But anyways, that's another story. But you know, every time I apply, denied every time. Section 8 housing, 1 to 2 year waiting list. And every time you apply and get denied, it just like, dang, what's next? Like, damn, am I gonna, you know what I'm saying? Then by my 3rd month, I gave up. I personally get like my 3rd month, I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna. Every time I apply, I can't make it, or I don't make 3 times the rent, or I gotta pay for a room that's 2 hours away. That's I can afford. It's 2 hours away from my job, so I have to drive 2 hours. You know, it's things like that. It's like, man. So I personally know, just going through that 3 months of that, I was psychologically broke down. Like, and I used to record my phone. When I used to talk to my mom, I'm like, dang, yo, my energy was so low. I was sounding so sad, you know. And I remember those times. So if you're homeless for 2, 3, 4 years,
you're beat up emotionally.
You're just like, man, I can't, you know.
But what about the guy? Like, I 100% agree with you. We got to have programs, and we got to have like a step up,
to
a
some,
hand up for somebody
exactly.
But what about the guy who's not just depressed,
right?
Because we go down there and there's a bunch of people that they're not depressed, right? They are. There was a time in this country where they would have been in an insane asylum, right? And I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just saying we don't have places like that.
Right. No, for sure.
I mean, you got a bunch of people on the street who are just like,
and
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and it's like, what do we do?
And that's the mental health, man. I tell people a lot of time, mental health has caused a lot of issues in this
Yeah.
world. Like there's a lot of issues that's going on because they didn't get mental health treatment.
Right.
So before people even get to that point,
We got to intervene.
Yeah, you got to intervene, and you got to be able to. And of course, a lot of that deals with communication.
Yeah.
Like being able to communicate. So,
Yeah.
like I said,
I'm not sure we can solve it because it goes back to insurance. Then it
no,
goes back
of
to
course,
like
the
you know what I'm saying?
liability is crazy.
Yeah, it's like, how do
liability is
we-
and
I don't know.
And it's forever questions. It's questions that's forever that we will probably forever ask, and until like, you know, certain communities get it right and they give us the formula.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
They give us the formula when one community gets it right, and we take it, and then
Yeah.
that commission agrees.
Yeah.
Then that's how we'll see the change. But it's so much selfish / mentalities. People just don't who are not thinking like. Cause me, I'm a guy who I can put all my differences aside,
Right.
as long as the solution is for whatever we're trying to, whatever we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
So if I feel like, I don't like this person, but this person is trying to help the homeless,
Yeah.
okay, what we got to do?
Yeah.
Because I can do that. I'm grown enough to say, all right, let me just, whatever. But some people are not like, oh, I don't like this person. I can't protest with him. I can't, I can't do anything with this person because regardless of how good he's doing something,
Right.
I can't do it with him because I don't like him or I don't like his skin color or
Yeah.
whatever, whatever their
Yeah.
reason is. So it's like that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to break all of that. Like throughout this whole campaign, like last year, like when I put my name on the ballot, I reached out everyone's emails on Vote Osceola. So I emailed all 22 some odd candidates, sheriff, judge, clerk, all of them. I said, hey man, I don't get the point of like, campaigning separately. I feel like we should all, if we all on all of our platforms, we're talking about homelessness or, similar things on platforms. Why don't we just do an event together and all the proceeds go to the issue, not us?
Yeah.
Right? Because I correlated in the fact of like, okay, when you have a concert, if you have one artist do a concert, yeah, he gets the tickets. But you have an artist with multiple different artists on that one concert, you sell more tickets and more people come and everyone gets exposed more.
Yeah.
So in the same sense in campaigning, why don't we just do an event together, put your, everything aside, and out of the 22, only 7 responded.
Yeah.
Only 7.
I saw that coming.
Of course, but it's just like, but that's where my head is at.
Right.
That's how I feel like. If you look at Vote Osceola right now, people got 55,000,
Oh yeah.
40,000, 30.
They're
like,
raising some
big,
cheese.
big money, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, like, and I'm gonna do the math. I'm gonna do a video next coming close to election date. I mean, if you add up all the money that's raised from every candidate,
Yeah.
right? And then I'll lay out all the things we could have done with all this money instead of, putting our faces on flyers and banners and all that stuff. And I get that that's needed. But for me, if I'm taking money from people, I'd rather give it back to the community in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
So if I'm taking any type of money, it's going to to feed the homeless event or whatever the case it be. Like I don't see the point. Well, luckily for me, I do everything myself. Like I do the photography, I do the marketing, so I don't have to pay for that.
Yeah.
But that's just where my head is at. I feel like, and that's I wanted to change that way of campaigning. So even if I don't, if God says, hey, today this year is not your year, run in 2022 or 2024, then my goal is to literally change the way we campaign.
Yeah.
As in all the candidates come together, because I got a big following.
Yeah.
Probably, like I said, probably the biggest, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And then other people, they have their following too. Like y'all have your own campaign, y'all have people who support you. So why not we come together? And even if we don't like each other, if the event is about homelessness or we're bringing the proceeds to homelessness or whatever the case may be, all the money you bring in, people put the money into the pot for you, all the people put the money in the pot for me, and whatever the case may be, and all the proceeds go to that. Why not? Instead of me taking the money and it come to me and me putting it on a sign, like it just seems logical.
That would be
historical.
I think it'd be like, gosh, man, you could even galvanize that a little bit more if you said, hey, I mean, think about think about the general citizen, right?
Right. Yeah.
We don't. I mean, like, I know there's a bunch of people about to be mad at this too, but because I have a bunch of people that are running for office that are friends, but I'm like, it's kind of stupid. We live in we live with these leftover like traditions that are kind of stupid.
Right.
Like we live in a social media world. We don't need yard signs anymore. Right. Does anybody need a yard sign? I mean, you look at all these, these elections. They're everywhere, and they're ugly, and they're not good. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't put one up yet, by the way.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It'd be great to have somebody come, I'm going to run, and then I'm going to abolish yard signs. You know what I mean? It's like, this is stupid.
Nah, it's just like, for me, it's just so much money spent
on stupid stuff.
Advertising stuff. Like, I get it. You're trying to get your name out.
Yeah.
I get it. But me personally, this is me. And I feel like I'm the only candidate. Because, like I said, there's not a sign up of me yet.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah. Just because I just feel confident in what I'm doing, word of mouth and stuff like that. But I don't feel right. Me taking people's money and putting my name on a sign.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying? To say what I'm gonna do when I get elected.
But this is the game, bro.
Of course,
and
that's a traditional way, you know. And everyone's like, "Oh no, you gotta do this." I'm like, nah, like I can change that. Me personally, and that's me believing in me. Like, nah, I can change that. If we should do this, all that money you spend on these signs, all y'all together. What if we all just come together and go back to the proceeds, and all the proceeds go to the people?
Yeah.
And if you're really, truly running for the betterment of the people, that should sound like the most logical idea you ever heard.
Very idealistic. I like your heart.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Have you done any door knocking yet? Are you walking around knocking on doors?
Yeah, I knocked a few doors, but I haven't. I cooled down because of the whole coronavirus thing.
Yeah, so that's true. It's a weird year. Like,
you
can't be going. You walking up and you're in a mask. And you're walking up.
It's different. It's different.
My wife hated that. I ran for office and we'd be out at like I don't know 8, 9, 10 in the morning, and then by like 11, she's like, my boobs are sweating. We got to go home.
It's a lot, man. Well, door knocking is a lot of.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Some houses, it's a lot of work. But now I think. That's another thing. That's why the odds are for me now, because we're not.
You're in a social media arena,
but I'm in.
And that's kind of your sweet spot.
Exactly, and that's where I'm most.
What about debates? You guys do any of that? Yeah.
They canceled it because of the virus, so they canceled.
They can't space y'all out 6 feet and put it on video.
No, they. I don't know. They might be doing another one coming, but it was Osceola Star, the one who was to host it, and they canceled it, and then they're like, "Well, we'll get back to you." But
hasn't happened.
Has not happened yet. I mean, there was a phone debate for an endorsement from SEIU, I believe, and there was like 4 of us on there, like via virtual Zoom. But me personally, I don't really care for the whole endorsement thing. Like I'm not like like I don't need a endorsement from people to say like. I don't know. I never was big on that. Like, cause when you look at the application, would you take endorsement money from us, or have you ever take PAC money? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't. I'm not gonna take your money. I don't. What am I taking your money for? You can just give this money back to whatever. Different for the people. Whatever.
But I like the idea of like local community groups.
Yeah.
Giving you a stamp of approval.
Right. And you know what's crazy though? And you know about politics.
Yeah.
Certain people to endorse me or vouch for me, it's going against somebody else in the political realm, right? Because
I would think you're kind of
listen.
In my opinion, it seems like a good time.
It would seem smooth, but a lot of people don't like.
No.
On a unpopular opinion, I guess a lot of people don't like just how I carry myself. I
really?
guess.
But do you think it's a black thing, or do you think what do you think it is? Young thing?
I think it's a young thing more than a black thing. I wouldn't even consider it a black thing. Well, it's part of it for sure. No, because
I think there's. I mean, you notice nationally what's happening is like everybody who needs to sell something is pretty much like.
Yeah,
I'll endorse any black candidate right now. I'll endorse any black man. You know what I'm saying?
And do you notice that? Like, look on either Amazon. It doesn't matter any. Big corporation.
Yeah.
Oh, we support
Black Lives Matter. Because your Black Lives Matter movie choices. It's like everywhere.
And you know what's crazy about they're using it as a marketing tool, man. It's of the time. It's trendy. Yeah. But it's we, black people, those who are like can really peep that.
Yeah.
Nah, man, you weren't doing that. Because in reality, me personally, this should have happened of course, the awareness should have happened way long time ago, way back in the days. But if we're talking about in present time, the way people are acting now about George Floyd should have happened back with Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
Because, Trayvon Martin, it was big too, but it should have happened to Zach.
Or we could take it back to Ronnie King. We
could
go back. We could go way back.
We go Ronnie King for sure. Like, people should have been acting. And they did act up. They did do riots and stuff like that. But the way the companies are acting now is why I say they should have acted like that back then.
Yeah.
But they didn't. But now it's so trendy, and social media is so big now, and people are starting to like take away their dollars from their corporations. If they don't, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but it doesn't seem genuine. You know what I'm saying?
So it doesn't. It doesn't seem genuine. But is politics ever genuine?
Nah, and that's why I feel like I'm in a realm. I'm in the political arena is not like I'm a horrible politician. Like I'm a horrible politician. I don't know what line is about.
Right.
I don't know about. Hey man, make sure you don't. Oh, okay. And I'm gonna say exactly what they said in front of the public. Like,
right.
So it's like I know that's like, I guess, a threat, I would say.
Right.
Because I'm not no yes man. I'm not no, make sure you don't say this and this, that, and the third. Like, I don't care. I'm not running to make any friends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not running to make
You
any
got
friends.
plenty of those.
But I'm good. Like, my circle's fine. Like, I'm not running to make any new friends. Like, I don't need friends in the political arena.
Right.
Like, I'm for the people, and at the end of the day, whoever doesn't like me, that's life. Like, I'm just keep it moving. Like, I'm gonna keep being positive. I'm gonna keep on pushing it. So, but that's just I just know my campaign alone, me running alone, is gonna change the dynamic. Like, I'm gonna inspire like younger people to get more civically involved, and that was the ultimate goal for me.
Right.
Because I have so much kids that look up to me. That I used to either take care of them when they were 12, 13, they're 18, 19 now, and say, oh yeah, I'm a Coach AC. I'm like, man, that's great. That's dope for me. So I think that was my main ultimate goal, to inspire these young kids that you don't have to be just an athlete or entertainer. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be a teacher, and you can also run for office.
Right.
That's
Listen, we're going to do some work this year with the Home Project right here.
Oh yeah.
Locally.
Home Project,
And you can always say no to this later. Say yes on air, though, so it'll look good. But I would love to have you come and give a little bit of your testimony to that crew over there and inspire them a little bit. It'd be good. You'd be a great.
Listen, man, I'm all for. That's what I'm all about. Like, I do motivational speaking, public speaking and whatnot. But I'm all about sharing your story. Yeah. I think that sharing your story really, truly does change the world. Like, when the more, like, anytime you watch a documentary of someone who was great, like a legendary, whatever it could be, you're like, a lot of times those documentary inspires that next younger great legend. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, people looking up to Bob Marley, people look up to, Tupac, all these different artists. Michael Jackson, like they're like, yeah, man, Michael Jackson is my hero. Like, he's the reason why I started dancing, and it's only because somebody decided. Well, Michael Jackson and his family decided to share his story. Right. So I feel like the more people are more vulnerable to go ahead and just share your story and what you've been through. Don't care about being judged, because people are gonna hate you regardless. Like, they're gonna judge you regardless, no matter what you do. Like, if you don't say anything, oh, this guy's too quiet. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't say anything, like, regardless, there's always going to be a hater. So it's like, for me, I always share everything that I ever been through, because I know that, one, it takes a lot of courage to do that, because there's a lot of people who aren't going to agree with you, and then they're going to make fun of you, or they're going to try to slander your name, or whatever the case may be. But I also know there's another person out there that's going through the exact same thing, but they just don't have the voice to speak out on it, or they're just kind of scared to speak out on it. Yeah. But when they see me do it, one or two things will happen. Either they will come out and share their story as well, or they'll be like, oh snap, I was going through that too, and you went about it a different way. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that route too. Yeah. Thank you, stuff like that. So that's why I kind of do what I do, man. I'm all about sharing everyone's story. And I had a little project I was doing where I would interview, just like how you do, I would interview other people, like, share your story. Tell us how you started your business. What was the trials and tribulations, stuff like that. So Yeah, man, that's how I do.
Well, dude, we appreciate you coming and joining us. Your story is inspiring. Yeah. You have bitten off a big chunk of the apple going for mayor. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
For everyone listening and everyone that's watching this through our Facebook page and YouTube page, this is definitely the best dressed man in politics in Osceola County.
No
so you need to get to know this dude. Go check out his stuff and check out his Facebook page and learn more about this guy. Good to be friends, man. I appreciate you coming out.
Man, thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Goodbye. God bless. See you guys.